Your most compelling story isn't even about you. It's about your clients. Your clients are the hero of your story. You are the guide. You are the Yoda or the Mr. Miyagi. So many service providers, coaches, consultants make themselves the hero of their own story. We never, ever want to do that.
Welcome to today's episode. I'm super looking forward to this because this topic is a topic that we need, yet it confuses so many of us. And for anyone that's been in my world for a while, you'll know that one of my favorite sayings is you can't read the label from inside the jar. And that today is what we're going to be talking about, how to uncover your unique story in a way that sets you apart and really has you standing alone in a category of one. So, KRIS, welcome to the show. It's fabulous to have you here.
I'm thrilled to be here, Samantha.
I love Story Brand, and I believe you are a Story Brand certified coach. What I love is that this is a framework to sort of pull the story out, but still people get confused about which parts they're pulling out. I think that there's nothing worse than fumbling when someone asks about what you do or about your story. And this
Mhm.
can really put people in that real freeze mode, which is not
Mhm.
what we want to be doing when we're in business. So, can you start off by sort of explaining why story is really important? Because I think we all know story is important, but can you dive into why it's so important? Because I think that will
Yeah.
set the context for this conversation.
Mm. Well, when it comes to marketing, story is incredibly effective at connecting with our potential clients. So it's the quickest, most effective way to really cultivate that connection, build that trust. We're wired for story as humans. We've
Mm.
been telling stories from the beginning of time around the fireside. When you go to a movie and you walk in, you sit down, and the movie begins, you don't look at your phone. You don't get up and go to the bathroom. You don't get up and go get more popcorn for 90 minutes. Nothing. In this day and age, nothing has the power to capture our attention the way stories do. So it makes
Mm.
perfect sense that we would use the story driven approach with our marketing, with our websites. When you've been doing the work you're doing for several years, you know your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing worse than knowing your stuff through and through and being asked, what do you do? And fumbling around, not knowing what to
Mm.
say. And what happens often is we just say kind of a dull two-word answer, or we launch into something kind of too lengthy. And
Uh-huh.
either way, we're losing our chance and an opportunity for connection and a deeper conversation. So
Mm.
that happens a lot. And story is, I like to think of it as a filtration device. It filters out the noise and keeps the essence of what you do so people can really understand what it is that you do. How is it going to make their life better? And what do you want them to do next to
Mm.
engage with you? The other thing that happens to so many service providers, coaches, consultants, you have this website, you threw it up, you knew you needed a website, you got it online, you signed up for Squarespace or Wix or whatever. And you kind of followed their template, the template they provided for you. And this is so common. But the downside of that is that a year later, you look back and you think, okay, of all the clients that I've worked with, none of them came to me through my website. In
Mm.
fact, I kind
Mm-hmm.
of cringe when people ask me what's my website address because it doesn't really reflect my level of expertise. It isn't aligned with me. It's not working as my top sales employee, which it really should. So, what happens is we kind of follow the template, but companies like that, I love Squarespace. I love Wix. Like I'm builder neutral. um, doesn't matter to me where you build your website. Like nobody asked Van Gogh, what brand of canvas did you use?
Right.
Nobody cares,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't matter. Whatever is going to be usable, functional, easy for you to get in there and manipulate, I'm a fan of. But those builders or the templates that they provide to you are really meant to craft like a beautiful website, or what I call it is a
Mm.
brochure website. A brochure
Mm-hmm.
website, it looks pretty, but it's not strategic. It doesn't actually work to build your business, get you greater profits, get you clients, convert people coming to the website. A brochure website doesn't do that. It just kind of sits there like a bump on a log, taking up space on the internet. Whereas a strategic website, so one that really applies strategy and clarity and perspective, like you said, that you can't read the label of the bottle when you're inside the bottle.
Mm.
And that's why it's so hard to talk about what we do. It's hard to write our own stories. But when we take the time to get clear, build a strong foundation around messaging, everything else becomes so much easier. We begin to have tools that work for us on autopilot that allow us to focus on doing the work we love. Nobody became an entrepreneur or went into business for themselves because they want to become a part-time marketer.
Right.
They love the work they do and they want to focus on their
Mm.
clients and the work that they love. And so my goal is to really set you up with tools that really truly work to help you grow your business so you don't have to be bogged down with social media posting, with maintaining your website, with tools that are really kind of not working for you. And
Mm.
we're all spread pretty thin. Our plates are full. So whatever you can do to offload that and make your life easier as an entrepreneur is huge.
Love it. For many people, and this is something that came up for me quite a while ago, it's something that comes up for a lot of people I speak with as we start to unpack what it is they do. They're like, Sam, I haven't, you know, gone and done something and lost all my money and like sort of made a lot of money and bought a Ferrari and then lost it all and slept on the sofa of my grandparents, in the basement on the pull-out
Right,
sofa.
right.
What I'm saying is that a lot
Yeah.
of people like who am I? I've just like they'll go, I just had a normal life,
They're
and
like, I
you
don't
know,
have a
I
story. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. They
Where
think,
do we start to unpack that? Because
yeah,
everyone does have a story,
yes,
but
yes,
what about the people that feel like they don't?
yes. So many people I talk to feel that way. We all think, oh, the Steve Jobs story, or maybe it was Microsoft,
Mm,
like working in the garage and,
yeah,
getting
yeah.
things off the ground. I'm going to let your listeners off the hook here because I'm so glad you asked this question. Your most compelling story isn't even about you. It's about
Mm,
your clients. Your clients are the hero of your story. And the story that I'm talking about, this was not invented by a story brand. The story framework has been around for many, 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 many years. So this is not anything new. But the story that I'm talking about, and the story that's really going to help your business grow and become more profitable and help you get more clients, is when I say it's not about you, what I mean is your clients are the hero of your story. And you are the guide. You are the Yoda or the Mr. Miyagi. The story that's going to help your business grow is really a narrative that invites your potential clients into a story with you. So you're there. You're the strongest character in this story, but the central character of the story is really your clients. So that's the type of story that I'm talking about, the one that's going to be really effective at growing your business. Now, a lot of entrepreneurs have a really great founder's story, and
mm-hmm.
that can be a fun one to share if you're, you know, on a podcast interview or giving a speech, but the story that's really going to sell for you is this one that I'm talking about. It's a narrative where you play a role as the guide and your clients are the hero. So many service providers, coaches, consultants make themselves the hero of their own
Mm,
story. We never ever want to do that because the hero is actually the weakest character in the story. We don't know if the hero is going to succeed or if they're going to fail. So we want to step in as that strong, sturdy guide that can really hold their hand and guide them towards success.
I love that. What are some common mistakes that people make when they're starting to unpack this brand story? Because I think if we know what to avoid, it's an easier way to get going.
Yeah, I mean the number one thing is making yourself the hero of your own story. If you can avoid that, you're doing better than most people out there. So
Uh-huh.
that I would say shift your lens around how you talk about your business and make it about your clients rather than about yourself. That's the number one shift. I do have a freebie that will help you do this to help you get started. It's called How to Write Compelling Copy in 5 Minutes Flat. It's at my website, which is reddoorstories.com. So if you go there, the free guide's there. It's a 5 minute video and it'll help you change your lens on how you talk about your business and start to really get your story out of your head onto paper and organize it. They have a lot of ideas. Like as entrepreneurs, we love our work. We love it. And so
Yeah.
there's this idea machine in our brain and clever phrases and concepts and ways we can serve our clients. And what happens is we often can overload our potential clients with too much information. This happens a lot on websites where the website kind of becomes a catch-all, or you're kind of like, this content is so good, I don't know how to edit it down, so I'm just going to put it all on there. And Story really acts as like a filtration device to filter out the noise and keep what's most clear. It's a lot like in the US, a typical, I don't know if this is true in Australia or not, but so often garages don't have cars in them because they are full of stuff, boxes and
Oh, yeah.
piles of stuff. And so what happens when you walk out into your garage is there's piles of boxes and you cannot identify the treasure from the
Mm-hmm.
trash, the
Mm-hmm.
gold from really the clutter and the noise.
Mm-hmm.
And what using story does is it helps you really uncover. And when I work with my clients, this is what I do. I uncover the gold, the treasure of that story that's within you. Your story is not created or invented, it is within you because you are the business. The business is your baby. Your story is inside of you. And it's my job to really ask you the questions that I know how to ask to uncover that story for you.
Hmm. Can you share a story of someone that came to you that was really struggling and how you transformed or what you did to transform that story so that, people were like, oh, we have to work with you?
I worked with a client, Andrea, not too long ago, and she does really beautiful work. She is an infidelity coach. So she works with women who have partners that have been unfaithful and she helps them. Her program is called No in 90 and she helps you figure out if you want to stay or go. So very important work. There's a lot at stake. There's a very compelling story here. But she was so close to her own work that she didn't really embody the importance of it, as she didn't have the words to communicate exactly what it was she did. If somebody asked her what she did, she would fumble around just like we had talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And her website was all about her. She was making herself the hero of her own story. And so she and I worked together and I put together a very story driven website for her. And the byproduct of that was really interesting. And this is not what I expected because the goal is really to turn your website into your most powerful sales employee.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened were for her in the process of collaborating with me on her story, is she began to really understand the power of the work that she is doing, and she had words to articulate it. And so she started getting a lot more sales calls, number one. So she'd get on these discovery calls with people. And she was at that point, like when I just met her, she was closing about 20% of her calls, which is not bad at all. But by the time we were done working together, she was closing 95% of her calls. So
Whoa, that's off the charts.
it's off the charts. Like for every 10 calls she got on, she got 9.5 clients. So
Far out.
it was really powerful. And I think, yes, like how wonderful for her to know that she's going to get new clients from a phone call. But I think often as entrepreneurs, we dread sales calls
Mm-hmm.
because we don't want to sell. Like
Mm-hmm.
it can feel icky or just like
Pushy.
laborious or waste of
Yeah.
time, right? And yeah, exactly. And so when you're able to show up with more confidence and you have the words and you everything is story driven, you don't have to sell anymore. You are just on the call helping them make the decision, whether it's yes or no, helping them make the right decision, and you're using story to get them there and holding their hand. It's more of a connected conversation than it is like a sales call. And so that was a really wonderful thing that happened for her. And part of the work I do is I help my clients with sales calls so they can actually look forward to those calls.
Mm, mm. You know what I love about that is that by her transforming her conversion rate to 95%, how many more people she's helping. And I think we can, exactly to the fact that you said before that we often make the story about us, this is the same
Mhm.
in sales. It's like, I'm afraid to ask for the offer, or I'm afraid to do this, or I feel icky, or me, or
Mhm.
I need the sale, rather than this person that's coming before me has a problem. And
Mhm.
as the expert, I'm trying to guide them to the best solution for them so that they can
Mhm.
get the transformation or the out looking for.
Yes.
And by those changes, like that is a huge legacy to be helping that many people. That's
Yes.
incredible.
It's very, very incredible. Yeah, she's pretty extraordinary. And it was so fun to help her get there. I think she did not come to me to increase her confidence, but
Mm.
just
Mm-hmm. That
by
was the
going through the
byproduct,
process,
though.
it was like a totally the byproduct of it all, and it was more important than anything else.
Yeah, because clarity does breed confidence. And,
Yes,
confidence is what buyers feel drawn to. Like it's just,
yes,
it's this what comes first, the chicken or the egg part, because to
yes,
get that
yeah,
confidence, you kind of need to get out there. So it's this dance that goes around that doesn't start anywhere in particular, but you just need to get going.
yes. And it's so much easier to get out there when you have the words and you know what to say.
Mm,
And the
mm-hmm.
beautiful thing about story, I'm glad you brought this up. The beautiful thing about story is you don't have to keep reinventing your story. You've got your one signature story, and you just beat that same drum over and over and over again. And I know that people say, how can you tell the same story over and over and over again? Isn't that going to be boring? Well, or lazy? Well, no, because it is less work, but the more you can repeat yourself, the more you can show up online, whether people find you on Instagram, on your website, or in person. If your story is congruent across all platforms, you become so much more memorable. People think of you and they know you know your stuff. You're the go-to person that they think of when that problem arises. So,
Mm,
it saves you time, but it also is so much more effective. And your story, I really like to think of your signature story, the one that you have for your business, the one that you use over and over and over again. The reason it can work that way is because it works like an accordion. So you've got shorter versions of your story, longer versions of your story. They all contain the same story ingredients, but depending on where they live, like a video might be about this length, website might be a little bit longer, and your answer to the question, what you do, might be quite a bit shorter, but it's flexible, but it's consistent.
I love that. What is one tip that you can give for someone to get started in this process?
I mean, really, the number one tip I would say is just download my freebie. It's at my website. It's the compelling copy in 5 minutes. That will give you everything you need to change the lens at which you look at your business. And it will also give you the answer to that question, what do you do? I think that's why I created the resource. It's completely free. You can definitely read the book Building a Story Brand. That's a great resource for business owners. I think the question I would want you to answer would be, what problem do you want to be known for solving? Can
Mm,
you answer that question? And just even that, even noodling on that, and it might be a handful of things, but can you narrow it down to one thing that you want to be known for solving? That's a
mm,
really important step in the right direction.
mm. I love that so much. KRIS, it's been awesome to speak to you. I think story is so important and it's so compelling when someone tells a good story. Like you said, you remember them. A story can give you like this transformation, like excitement, remembering. I love all of those things. How do people stay connected with you?
Before I get into that, I just want to echo what you're saying that stories are 22 times more memorable than just facts. And because
Mm,
our brains are really wired for story, our brains cannot help but engage when a story begins. So we get pulled in, and this happens, of course, in movies, but a lot in the spoken word where we're just someone says, "Let me tell you a story," and you know what that feeling is like. You're like, I'm here to go for it. I'm listening. So it's been such a joy talking with you today. I've loved every minute of it. People can find me at my website. That's where my all my free resources are, information about working with me. I offer a free 40-minute money making messaging call so you can book a call with me there. It's at reddoorstories.com. That's reddoorstories.com.
awesome. KRIS, thanks so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure.